You are listening to the On Purpose Podcast, your guide to living a more purposeful life. Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the On Purpose Podcast. It is an honor and privilege to have you here each and every week, and I'm excited to share with you the story of this week's guest. But before I do, I need to remind you that the purpose of the On Purpose Podcast, and we exist to put smiles on the faces of people around the world, to brighten their days just a little bit through sharing inspiring, thought-provoking, and purposeful content each and every week. And without you all, I'd just be talking to myself. So I want to thank you for being here and ask you if you resonate with our mission, you resonate with our stories, and you love what we're doing, please join us and support us through liking, subscribing, sharing on your favorite platform. Or joining us on patreon.com/the On Purpose Podcast, where we have monthly memberships, $2, $5, $10 a month. And you'll know that your money's going directly towards brightening somebody's day around the world. So we thank you for that. And we encourage more of you to join us, and let's keep doing this. Let's keep making the world a little bit better of a place each and every episode. This week, I'm excited to introduce you to Kute Blackson, a transformational teacher, speaker, visionary, guide, and national best-selling author of You Are the One and the Magic of Surrender. He is all about awakening people to live their full potential. And one of the things I love about him is he talks about love a lot, and how love is really a key to fulfilling life. He's been featured on Larry King Now, NPR, Dr. Drew, Fox and Friends, and a bunch of other places. And it's a true honor to bring his story to the On Purpose community. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our interview with Kute Blackson. Kute, welcome to the On Purpose Podcast, my friend. It is a pleasure to have you here and to share your story with our community.
Thanks for having me.
Let's see. What are you up to nowadays? You're busy. Like, doing my research, I was having a hard time keeping up with all the good stuff you got going on out there.
Yeah.
You got a new book?
New book, The Magic of Surrender, is out. Very passionate about that.
Okay, so that's been your focus lately?
Yeah, that along with, many, many things. So It depends what you want to talk about.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into too much, I love some of the stuff on your website, and
Cool.
you are, let me pull that up real quick here. You are all about people awakening their potential and fulfilling their purpose. How did you stumble into that?
Wow, how did I stumble into it? Look, I was born in Ghana, West Africa. My father's from Ghana. My mother's Japanese. I grew up in London. I live in the US, so I feel like I'm from everywhere and nowhere, which is a great blessing.
Sure.
My entire life, I have felt, as a young kid, I would feel people's pain very deeply. I felt people suffering very deeply. There was always a part of me that, as a young kid, wanted to alleviate suffering in some way. I just didn't know what that would look like. And so I began asking myself some deep questions at a young age, like, who am I and what's the purpose of life? And why do some people who seem to have every reason to be happy, why are they not? And why do some people who seem to have no reason to be happy, why are they happy? And so as a young boy, I think some people would say that I had a bit of an unusual childhood. I didn't feel that way. I thought my childhood was like everybody else's. But my first memories as a young kid, I remember seeing a crippled woman crawling on the floor. She picks up the sand that this man walks on, wipes it on her face, and stands up. And so, call this a miracle. Week after week, I saw a person coming in a wheelchair, and the same man who essentially picked up would look at a woman in a wheelchair and say, "Why are you in this wheelchair? You're not sick, stand up." Somebody would come in with crutches, and they were unable to walk, and he would say, "Throw your crutches away," and touch them, and they would be healed. So this man was my father. And
Okay.
So week after week, I grew up in this environment of possibilities. I think it was a blessing, because I felt, to me, it just seemed normal.
Right.
And I felt like anything was possible. And so that was huge because there weren't limitations in my consciousness as a young boy. And so my father built 300 churches in Ghana, West Africa. He built a huge church in London. He had hundreds of thousands of followers in Ghana, 5,000 people every Sunday, 4 to 5,000 every Sunday in London. And when I was age 8, I started speaking in my father's churches. When I was 14, and that's where my speaking career began, so to speak. When I was 14, I was ordained as a minister. And I was given the mandate, pretty much the responsibility to take over my father's organization. And he announced to the congregation one day, my son is taking over. And unbeknownst to me, this was not my plan. My entire life was basically set out for me and scripted by my father and everyone else, like many of us in different ways. And so I knew something wasn't right. And for me, I knew that this was not my path. This was not my destiny. Yet, like many of us, I was too afraid to speak my truth. My fear was if I speak my truth, if I communicate who I really am, then I won't be loved. I'm going to be outcast. I'm going to lose my father. I'm going to be alone. I'm going to be abandoned. And like many of us, I think we hold back our voice. We don't speak our truth. We're afraid to be our authentic selves out of fear of losing validation and being alone. And so I said nothing. And for 4 years, I went along with the plan. I went along with the script. And everyone was happy but me. And when I turned 18, I knew that I could not continue doing what I was doing and living how I was living. And basically, I had a choice to make. Either was I going to go to university? What was I going to do with my life?
Sure.
And so at 18, I projected into my future. And I saw that I could take over my father's church. I could be successful by the world standards.
Right.
But if I didn't have myself, if I didn't have my truth, if I didn't have my authenticity, if I didn't have my integrity, what kind of success is that? That you can't be truly fulfilled and happy being someone that you're not. You can't be truly fulfilled and happy living someone else's life. That if I begin lying to myself now, I'm going to have to lie to myself for the rest of my life. And that felt incredibly painful. And so my soul basically called me in a whole different direction. And I felt this undeniable pull to come to the US, come to America. I wanted to go into the personal growth industry. Yeah. I wanted to go into the personal development industry because as a kid, I would sneak into my father's office, and on his bookshelf were literally 1,000 books on personal development, spirituality, self-help, Eastern mystics to Western folks like Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson. And I became obsessed with just information and understanding. And I thought, wow, there's a whole different way of inspiring people that's not through religion or the church. There's a different way. And that excited me because nothing wrong with that. I just felt a different calling. Sure. And so, I think sometimes what your soul guides you to do isn't always convenient, doesn't always make sense to your mind. And many times we question it. We feel a calling, we feel an intuition, we feel a guidance, but we analyze it, we question it, we ask why, and we don't follow the deep truth and the deep knowing. And I think this is also why many of us, we get sick. We feel frustrated. We feel dissatisfied because we're blocking the flow of our soul's guidance. And I really believe through my experience that if you follow your soul, you will always end up in the right place at the right time with the right people, even though the route that you take may not be the one that you most expect. It will always be exactly what you need, sometimes in retrospect. And so I decided to say yes. And that's when I left it. I renounced everything, left everything behind, had the conversation with my father, which was terrifying.
Sure.
And we didn't speak for 2 years. And longer story short, I ended up winning a green card, literally in the green card lottery that enabled me to come to the US and pursue my dreams. I went and found teachers and mentors and authors and many of my heroes as a kid and studied with some of them. And then I traveled. I traveled to Thailand, studied with some monks, to Israel with some rabbis, ended up in India.
Yeah.
And that really revolutionized my awareness of my life and got me in touch with a deeper sense of my own self and my own truth and my own purpose. And that's when I came back to America, and started helping people one on one. And it just grew one on one, one on one. People started coming from around the world. And before you knew it, it just grew into small groups and larger groups and expanded and kept expanding from there. And so here we are.
I love it. I love your story. I love your passion. And I love the fact that what you said about following your soul. And I think, that just like you
Yeah.
said, too many people block themselves off or they want to
Mm-hmm.
control the path that they think they're supposed to be on. When a lot of times we got to take our hands off and just the
Mm-hmm.
world will put us on the right path,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yeah.
going to lead you, Kute, to the next path for you, my friend. Is before we get into the big stories here, we got to make sure you're warmed up. We're like a physical fitness, right? Like I got to make sure your mind's ready to go. So are you ready to get warmed up with me, Kute?
Sure, wherever you want to take
All
it.
right. First question for you. You are stranded on a deserted island. You get one food for the rest of your life. What do you
One
want?
food.
What do you want to eat?
Man, that's the hardest question. I've been asked some tough questions. One food, bro. I'm not sure about one food. I
Oh,
mean,
come on. You got one thing. What's
woo.
your favorite thing you're taking with
See,
you?
now I'm thinking about, do I go for the nutritional factor? Do I go for the taste buds? Do I go for one food, man? I'm just gonna choose a food I love. I'd probably choose some African food. I'd probably choose some African chicken stew or some fish
Ooh,
stew or something like that. That's what I would think. It has taste with some rice. So it's
yeah.
kind of two foods in
You
one.
got,
But
yeah, plenty.
yeah, yeah.
I love it. All right. You can have a superpower. What superpower would you want and why would you want it?
A superpower. Wow. I think it depends on my mood for the day. And it depends on when you ask me. So you ask me tomorrow, there might be a different superpower. If I had a superpower, I think the superpower would be, let's see. Um, I think this is a fun one I'm feeling right now to turn the ability to turn people's dreams into reality, like
Mm,
people's wishes into reality. I would love that. That would be fun. That'd be a fun one.
that would be a fun one for sure. What's your favorite book?
I think that depends that has depended on the particular moment of my life
Sure.
and the stage of my evolution, because at different stages there were different books that impacted me in different ways depending on my level of consciousness and understanding.
Right.
Books I loved at 13 and 14 that blew my mind, that were really pivotal, I maybe wouldn't read today, but I remember at 13, 14 I was blown away by folks like Ernest Holmes and the Science of Mind books. I was blown away by Stuart Wilde, who was a British metaphysical spiritual teacher. Louise Hay was some of my favorites. Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of
Yeah.
Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a classic book that most people may not know, called I Am That, by an Indian spiritual teacher called Nisargadatta Maharaj, a deep spiritual book on the nature of who we are.
Very nice. What are you currently reading right now? If you had to pick up a book, what do you got in your hand?
What am I reading right now? I think I have a stack. I'm looking at a stack of books that I need to, but they range from everything from commercial real estate to parenting to what is that, multifamily investing to. I mean, there's a wide range of everything over there.
Sure. Nice. If
A
you
lot of
could,
business stuff.
okay. If you could have dinner with one person, they could have passed or still be with us, who would you have dinner with and what would you want to ask them?
Dinner. I think it's pretty simple. Me, it would be my mother. Um, I just, I don't know if there's one question. I just want to have a conversation with her.
For
Just being with
sure.
her would
Yeah.
make it worth it.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great answer. All right, you warmed up? Coot, how you feeling, my friend?
I came in warmed up,
You
brother.
can't.
Let's
You
go.
did. You did. You dropped it on me. I loved it.
I'm ready.
All right, I want to go back to something you said in your intro, and that was talking about your time in India, and it really
Yes.
put you on a different experience level there. Share with us that experience, if you don't mind.
Wow. If there's something specific you want to know about it, just ask away. But for me, it was a very pivotal moment in my life because I was a very young man in my 19, no, early, like 20 years old. And I had reached a stage in my life where about 2021, I'd reached a stage in my life where I really wanted to make a TV show happen. I wanted to like be the next Oprah. And I had literally spent a year and a half, 2 years going broke, pitching the show. And I was so attached to who I thought I needed to be. I was so attached to the idea of being this sort of like new generation Oprah. And I mean, when I say I went for it, I mean, I tracked down producers. I tracked down Steven Spielberg. I tracked down David Geffen. I tracked down Richard Branson. I tracked down billionaires, heads of movie studios, CAA, William Morris talent agents. I mean, as a young kid, I just knocked on doors, walked into offices, got kicked out 99% of the time, literally thrown to the curb.
Yeah.
And so I really tried pitching the show. And finally, I remember what led to me going to India, which is kind of important, is I felt like I had reached the edge, the end of my ego's capacity to make my life happen. I had tried everything to make the show. I wrote letters to Oprah. I mean, I tried everything a human could possibly imagine, legally. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I had honestly tried. A lot of people say, "Oh, I really tried everything." And you ask them, "What did you do?" They tell you like 2 things.
Sure.
I'm like hundreds of things. Tracked down Dick Clark. Talked my way into a meeting with Merv Griffin. Sat there. I mean, I pitched the show like it hasn't been pitched, and I came very close. And one day I sat with the managers for Michael Jackson. They managed Michael Jackson, Dolly Parton, J. Lo, Martin Lawrence, Backstreet Boys, Leonardo DiCaprio, and more. And these were like big time managers.
Yeah.
And I talked my way into their offices. And for the first time, they looked at me, they looked at each other, and they said, "We want to manage you. You're going to be huge. We can make a star out of you." Everything I've been working towards was like coming true. And they're like, "We're in. We want to be your manager." And they gave me a contract, management contract. They said, "You sign this tomorrow, we start. We're going to go to Fox. We're going to go to CBS. We're going to pitch these." And they said, "It's going to happen. So sign this contract, come back." I went home. Everything I do has to be aligned. Yeah. I have to feel the inner integrity. And I went home, meditated on it. And all I got was a clear no.
Really?
Don't sign with these people. It's not aligned. And to be honest, I was a bit mad because whenever I listened, this was the same intuition that had guided me to leave my father's church. This was the same feeling that guided me to come to America, that guided me to apply for the green card. And now the same feeling was saying, don't do it. It's not aligned. It's not a part of your journey. And so I was a bit frustrated because my mind wanted it to happen, yet my soul was guiding me in a different direction. And I said no to these guys, and these guys cursed me out. And I was frustrated. And I just kind of went into a funk and a bit of a depression because I figured, like, I don't know what else I'm going to do with my life. I've tried everything, and now I'm being guided no. And so I decided that I just kind of gave up spiritually. And I decided that I was tired of trying to force my life to be what I thought I wanted it to be. I was tired of trying to like control and manipulate experiences to try to fit my ego's idea of how I thought it needed to be. And so at that moment, I gave up, man. I just said, universe, I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. I don't know what you want with me, life, universe, God, whatever. I'm here. So show me. And that's when I was guided to India. And I basically decided I'm not coming back to Los Angeles until I find certain answers for myself. I'm not coming back until I find my true purpose and why I'm really here, because I'm tired of doing it my way, because my way doesn't seem to be working. Sure. And I said, I'm not coming back until I know why I'm here and why I'm on this planet. And so I put everything in storage, sold a bunch of stuff, broke up with my girlfriend, shaved my head, took the little money that I had a few $1,000s, and said, I'm taking a backpack and I'm not coming back until I know who I am and why I'm on this planet. And I started traveling. Yeah. I walked the Camino, 900 kilometers in northern Spain. Then I ended up in India because someone there said, go to India. And so when I was in India, I just walked and talked and sat with people and reflected on life and met spiritual enlightened master after hundreds of enlightened masters just sitting at their feet, just trying to understand, like, who are we and what's the purpose of life? Is the purpose of life just to, like, wake up and make money and be successful, make babies, buy 2 cars, buy a house, go on vacation, and die? Like, is that it? Or like, what is the purpose to all of this?
Right.
And so as I started questioning, it's like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Why have I been put on this planet? What am I here to do? What gifts am I here to give? And so as I questioned and I traveled, I had certain very enlightening experiences that really opened me to a deeper sense of who I am and what I am, and a deeper nature of reality. And that transformed my life. You know, I caught visions of my future. I caught visions of my purpose. I got a deeper sense of my true purpose. And that sort of, I kind of was forced to surrender the idea of who I think I am, the idea of how I think my life should be, the idea of, you know, trying to, like, control and figure everything out. And it's when I just surrendered, in a certain sense, that I took the limitations off of life. And that's when I became open to, like, life showing me my truth, life showing me what's authentic, life showing me what I'm here to do. And I think that was a huge beginning. And that's why, you know, for me, I'm so passionate about this theme of surrender, because I think in our culture today, for me, it took hitting rock bottom, getting to the end of my capacity to manifest my life. That's when I said, okay, I surrender. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Sometimes we're so sure about who we think we are, we're so sure about what we think we know, that we're no longer open to life.
Yep.
We're no longer open to something deeper. And so I think surrender, if you understand the true essence and the true meaning of the term, like, there's so many misconceptions in our world today about surrender. Like, surrender is weak.
Right.
Surrender is passive. Surrender is giving up. Surrender means sitting there waving a white flag and doing nothing. It means just selling everything and going to the Himalayas, like I did for a moment. Like, we think this is what surrender is, but if that's what it is, who the hell wants to do that? You know, it's not very inviting. Surrender is being a victim, is being a doormat. It's being taken advantage of. That if you surrender, you won't manifest your goals, dreams, and desires. That if you surrender, you're going to get less in life. And what I found through my experiences is that if you, in truly understanding surrender, in truly surrendering, what if you didn't get less in life, but you got more? What if you didn't get less? You got more than you could have planned, more than you could have imagined, more than you could have intended, more than you could have planned with your limited ego's capacity to figure out your life. And I think that's the magic, and that's the possibilities. When I look at all of the truly great ones, Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Mandela, Martin Luther King, Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, like these weren't weak people. You know, they were full of passion and fire and impact. When I look at the truly great ones, at some point, they all have to surrender themselves to life, to the universe, to their deeper truth, to their soul's deeper longing. They have to surrender themselves to, shall we say, the deepest impulse of what we're seeking to express through them. And in that surrender, they transcended their human limitations.
Yeah.
In that surrender, they went beyond their own personalities, and life was able to express through them. And so when I was in India, I was forced to surrender, man. I had an experience where I basically almost died, where I'm climbing the Himalayas in India, and I thought I was dying. I was vomiting for 8 hours climbing the Himalayas. I had diarrhea nonstop, which was not pleasant, climbing the Himalayas. I'm literally hallucinating, seeing things, feeling so weak, crawling up the mountain, feeling like I'm dying. And I was sure I was going to die. And I started thinking about my life and thinking about my dreams and thinking about my parents and thinking about anyone and everyone I loved. And I just kind of said goodbye. And that night, I literally crashed in a sort of tent where people stay at the top of the Himalayas. Kind of sure I was going to die. And I woke up the next morning a bit surprised that I was still alive.
Right.
And I made it down the mountain again. And that revolutionized my life because I'm like, shit, I'm still alive. I thought I was going to die. And that gave me a whole new lease on life. I felt like because I let go of the idea of who I thought I was. Because in the face of death, so much of what we think is important is no longer important. Right. I just didn't care about some of the things I was driven by and motivated by, like looking good and what people thought. And so as I felt like I died, it was a true surrender. It's like real surrender is understanding, is a letting go of control. Yeah. Or shall I say the illusion that we're in control.
For sure.
I think control is a master addiction. Surrender is letting go of trying to force life and the idea of what we think we should be so that we can be truly available and open. And so it's taken the limits off of life, And so for me, that's what happened in India. I just let go of the life I thought I should be living so that I could feel and be honest about the authentic life that was seeking to express through me. And that's for me that's when life began, man. That's when the magic began. That's where the miracles began. And that's what brought me back to the US. And I started working with people, coaching people one-on-one. And that led to one person. I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning.
Yeah.
But 22 years ago, before coaching was a thing.
Yeah.
I just came from a pure, sincere desire to help one person. And one person's life changed, another person's life changed, another person's life changed, and then people started coming, and that's what happened for me in India.
Yeah, I love it, and I want to explore something you said that I think is really, really important for our community. You gave a bunch of examples: Bruce Lee, Gandhi, Jesus, Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, and it also ties into something you said. You asked the universe,
"Yes,
what gifts am I here to give?"
Yep.
Not to take, not to receive. What's in it for me? And all those examples are all people that I would say equally gave much more than they ever took from the world. How important was it in your development to have that selfless attitude that you are here to give and show me what I'm supposed to give? How important was that, do you think?
I think it was critical, but for me, I had to reach. So much of my life, to a degree, was focused on what I'm here to get. What can I get? What can I get? What can I get? Why is it not happening? I want to get this. I want to get that. I want to get the car. I want to get the success. And it wasn't making me happy, to be honest. And I felt so like self-contracted, self-focused that I think it was just when I hit, you could say, rock bottom that I felt like I didn't have a choice. And so that's what forced me to surrender and start asking a different question. And I think that a life that is focused on getting is a limited life, because you might get everything you thought you wanted, but each one of us will reach a point of dissatisfaction. Even if you're Bill Gates, there's only so many shoes you can wear at one time. There's only so many underpants you can wear at one time. There's only so much food you can eat at one time. There's only so many cars you can actually drive at one time. Okay, you drive a Lamborghini, and you can't drive 4 Lamborghinis at one time. And even if you have that Lamborghini or Bugatti or Rolls Royce, it's like after a few years or a few months, it's just another car, And so a life of getting will guaranteed lead to a point of dissatisfaction.
For sure.
It is a sign of growth. And I think the truly fulfilled and happy people are those that give, those that are focused on service, those that are focused on living a life that is bigger than just a self-focus, bigger than just themselves.
Right.
And I think that's the blessing of fulfillment and happiness, where you truly are up to something bigger than yourself, where your focus isn't just on yourself. That's what moves you through the tough and challenging times. And so for me, it was a shift. When I was in India, this is where a revolution happened for me. So the first time I went to India, I haven't spoken about this in a long time. I was in search for the keys to happiness, because I didn't feel happy, man. I mean, I had every reason to be but I didn't feel happy. And I went far and wide. And one day I got to the town called Bodh Gaya. And Bodh Gaya is where the Buddha got enlightened. It's where the Bodhi tree is. the Mahabodhi temple is, where he got enlightened. There's a beautiful temple structure there. It's gorgeous. And I figured, okay, if I'm going to find some answers to my life, maybe I'll find it where the Buddha got enlightened. Why not? I mean,
Sure.
this is as good a place as any. And I sat with monks and I asked questions and nothing. Like, I didn't feel like I got any answers, you know? And as I sat with these monks, I kind of gave up. It was like 120 degrees Fahrenheit outside in June, July, and I'm dying and I'm exhausted and I'm tired of India and the poverty and, you know, the being on trains for 32 hours. And I finally got to the temple, the Mahabodhi temple, and I'm exhausted. I'm sitting outside of the temple one day, literally about to give up my journey. And I saw these 10 beggars lined up outside the temple, begging, you know. And this was not an unusual sight in India. I was just tired of seeing this. 10 beggars begging. But this day, my life changed because I saw this one beggar. And this one beggar was sitting on the floor. Caught my eye. And I'm exhausted looking at this guy. And he's singing. I'm like, huh. He's sitting on the floor and he's singing. And I realized that every day I'd walk to this temple looking for answers. I had ignored him because he's just a beggar. Yeah. But he was there every day for the last 10 days singing. I mean, singing, I don't even know what he was singing, but he was singing some gratitude to the universe, right? Some praises. And wow, he's been here every day singing. I haven't noticed. So let me look at what he's doing. Sitting down, singing his heart out, 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 singing his heart out. And I started to cry because I thought and I felt the purity of his soul. He was singing with such a pure intention. And when I looked more closely, I saw that he was blind, that he couldn't see. So he had his eyes closed and he was singing and singing. Didn't know who was watching. Didn't know if anyone was watching. So he's not doing it for like the validation.
Sure.
Because it could be one person. And I realized he had a little begging bowl, but he couldn't see how much you were giving him. So he wasn't like doing it just for the money, but he was singing with every ounce of his being. And I was so moved by this guy. I'm like, geez, he's blind and he's singing. But then when I look closer, he's beating the drums with arms that are stumps. And he doesn't have arms, doesn't have hands. I'm like, this dude has no hands, can't go to the toilet by himself, can't eat by himself, yet he's beating the drums with full intensity. I mean, simple story, but it just broke my heart because there he was, beating the drums with these stumps, full of energy, singing. Yeah. Every reason to not be singing, every reason to feel like a victim, every reason to be mad at God, mad at the world, mad at the universe, to feel bitter, but he was singing. Then I realized that the reason he was sitting on the floor was he had no legs. He was literally, his legs were freaking deformed and he couldn't walk. I'm like, my God, no eyes, no arms, no legs. And he's singing his heart out to the world like he doesn't have a care in the world. And in that moment, I felt so ashamed.
Sure.
I felt, here I am with everything, eyes, hands, legs, a healthy body. And I'm just sitting here waiting for some special moment, waiting for life to do it for me, waiting for someone to, like, what am I waiting for? You right. know? And I felt like I was crying because I realized in that moment, he's not the beggar. I'm the beggar. Because he's not waiting and trying to get something from life. He's just giving to life. He's just offering his gift to life.
Wow.
When I'm just taking from life, I'm a beggar. Doesn't matter what I have. What can I get? Love me, gift to me, see me, validate me. I'm just begging, you know? And so I went up to this man with a translator, right? I went up to this man with tears in my eyes. He can't see me. And I sat next to him, face to face. And it's like I looked him in the eyes, and obviously he can't see. Sure. But I felt like he looked right through me into my soul. And I said to him, how do you come out here every day and just sing your heart out? Aren't you angry at God and the world? Mm-hmm. How do you do it? Like, My friend doesn't call me back and I'm mad forever, right?
Right,
And here
right.
you are just singing.
Yeah.
You don't feel like a victim. You just, and he said to me, first thing he said, he looked me in the eyes, man. And he said, what else is there to do?
Mm.
I'm like, what? I was expecting some big, what
Right.
else is there to do?
Yeah.
And I realized, geez, that is kind of deep. Like, what else is there to do but give and
Right.
share your voice? Like, what else is there to do? Just sit around and feel sorry? And I understood what he was saying. And then he looked me back in the eyes again and he said, life might give you what you want. And life might not give you what you want. You don't have control over this. But he said to me, you can always give life who you are.
Mm.
Boom. And that for me was such a profound moment because I felt like I had literally in that moment met the richest man in the world.
Sure.
When we're giving our gifts and sharing what we have, and we all have something to give, a smile, a moment of kindness,
Yeah.
Something. We all have something to give. When we're giving what we do have, we are activating our riches and being a contribution. And sometimes we think, well, what difference can I make on the planet? I always tell people, look, just stop seeking your purpose. Just start where you are,
Right.
what you have, exactly as you are right now, and respond to the need in the moment. And sometimes it's a smile. Sometimes it's a phone call. Sometimes it's sending someone a text. Sometimes it's so simple, but so often we don't do it because we're waiting for something else. And so I think a life of giving is a life of fulfillment, no matter what.
Right. Yeah. And I think you're 100% right. We look for these big moments or these big monumental things that shape our lives, and it's
Yeah.
really the small things
The
around us
small
that make a
things.
difference.
Yeah, it's the small things.
I
For
love
sure.
it. That's a fantastic story. I want to talk about The Magic of Surrender, your new book, and I love that you say the finding the courage to let go.
Yeah, yeah.
Talk to us about the courage that it takes to surrender, to take your hands off the wheel and think you're controlling everything.
Yeah, I think I maybe touched on surrender a few moments ago. This essence of surrender, like like it's the most powerful thing that we can do. It is the key to manifestation. It is the key to your next level. It is the password to freedom. To me, the next level of your life for all of us requires the next level of us.
Mm-hmm.
The next level of us requires that we let go of who we were. The next level of life requires that we let go of what's no longer working and aligned. Yet as human beings, we tend to hold on to what we know and who we know ourselves to be out of self-preservation,
Right.
out of comfort, out of fear.
Yep.
We hold on and we don't realize that holding on to what's no longer working just blocks our blessing and keeps us stuck. It's when we let go of what's no longer working and aligned that we make space, we make room for new blessings to come. And so what I will say is what is often afraid to let go, even if we know we should let go,
Right.
what is afraid to let go is the ego.
Yes.
Ego is what is afraid of surrendering. Ego is what resists life, what wants to control everything. Ego, just to be clear, ego is our perceived sense of what we believe ourselves to be.
Yes.
Ego is what we think ourselves to be based on name, body, form, history, experiences, past, success, failures, traumas, etc., memories. And so ego is that sense of self-identification that we hold onto this idea of what we think we are. And the degree to which we hold on is the degree to which we are limited. The degree to which we hold on is the degree to which we are in ego. And so we've been conditioned by life, by parents, by our experiences, by society, to believe that we are the ego. And the reality is we are not the ego. Ego is not who we are. Ego is a set pattern of programs that we've just identified with. Ego is the process of identification. Ego was created in response to certain experiences that occurred for us when we were young.
Yeah.
And so the ego's job is to, number one, protect you from I would say the ego's job is to reinforce its existence. Let's put it that way. To reinforce its sense of existing. The ego's job is to protect you from getting hurt like you were hurt when you were 5.
Yeah.
And so one of the mechanisms, out of good intention, is the ego seeks to control everything because we believe, if I can control everything, control my wife, control the government, control the weather, control my pet, control my children, if I can control everything, then I won't get hurt again like I was hurt when I was a kid, and I'll be safe. So if I can figure out the future, if I can, manage how you see me, if I can analyze and understand everything that's going to happen, I'm going to be safe. But it's an illusion because life is not really in our control. So many things happen that we don't have control of the weather. We don't have control how someone's going to drive. We don't have control of how our wife or our kids are going to react. This is out of our control.
Right.
And so I think surrender is our true nature. Surrender, as difficult as it sometimes feels, letting go. Surrender is our true nature. It's our natural state of being. If you look at a child is free. You look at a child is open. You look at a child will jump on the table. It's not trying to control. How do you think about when they're really young? They'll run naked through the living room. They'll pee on the floor. They don't feel any shame until they're told, "Oh, that's Johnny. That's bad. Susie, Kute, that's not good." Or they'll jump on the table and sing. They don't care if they don't sound like Adele or Celine Dion. They're just singing until we get conditioned. So we're born free. We're born just in the free flow of surrender, our true nature as infinite, magnificent beings, whole, perfect, and complete. But we incarnate into this human experience and we meet our parents. And our parents, they're just doing the best that they know how to do based on their programming and their parents and society and generations. So now these free beings were born into a set pattern of conditioned momentum from generational patterns. And so maybe dad is crazy. Maybe mom is an alcoholic. Maybe they're good people, but they just didn't know how to meet our emotional needs. And that was painful. Yeah. So 2 things happen. The first thing is we learn all sorts of strategies of control to shut down, disconnect, not feel. It's too painful. Let me numb myself. Too painful. Let me suppress. Let me deny. Let me start lying to myself about what I really feel. Everything's fine. I don't care about that. I don't care that Dad's not around. I don't care that I don't have a mom or a dad. I don't care. And we start suppressing. Layers of unfelt feeling and emotion begin to cover up our true essence and our true light, our true magnificence. And we erect all sorts of walls around our heart in order to not feel the pain. We start to control our responses in order to not feel the pain of disappointment, to not feel the pain of feeling helpless, to not feel the pain of my needs aren't being met and it hurts. And so we start to disconnect. And this is when the control mechanism starts. Ego gets created. That becomes a way of being. And then we go into the world and we start to contort ourselves, into a certain shape. Who do I need to be in order to get love and validation and approval? Oh, I'll be nice. Oh, I'll be smiley. Oh, I'm going to be the responsible one. Oh, I'll be the good boy, the good girl, the caretaker, the funny one, the shy one. And so we contort ourselves into a shape of a person. We develop a role. We develop a persona. We develop a mask of who we think we need to be in order to get love, validation, and approval. Boom. This becomes identified as what we think ourselves to be. This holding on is ego. And so when you say, let go, it's like, you're crazy. Ego's like, you're crazy, because surrender and letting go to the ego feels like a death. And this is why we resist. This is why we resist, because the mechanism of what we think we are feels like it's dying, and out of good intention doesn't want to die. So we resist and we fight. So first we have to realize that I am not the ego.
Yeah.
We have to realize that the ego is simply a set patterning of conditioned patterns that we get to observe. It's not what we are. And that's the key. And when we can understand that the ego has, let's say, positive intentions to protect us and keep us safe, rather than, let's say, forcing it to do something or forcing ourselves to like surrender, we can begin to accept that we may not be surrendered right now, that we may not be letting go, that we might be afraid, and begin to meet our resistance and fear with compassion. And I think that's the key. When we can start to relate to ego differently, to know it's not what we are, and we can meet ego with compassion and loving, then we can hold it without fighting it, without even trying to make ourselves surrender. It's like, okay, I'm not surrendered right now. It's okay. Let me just hold myself with love. Then ego can sort of relax and open and let go. And surrender begins happening in the space and the process of a whole new relationship with ourselves. And so I think loving and compassion and meeting ourselves with that is a key element to surrender. And sometimes we have to surrender to the fact we're not surrendered right now. And that's a deeper surrender. So that's a place to start.
I love that. And I love what you said there about using compassion.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think so many times the last person we show compassion or grace to is ourselves. But it's so essential, right? Like if I never
it's the key.
Accept that I'm imperfect to begin with.
Yeah.
And I want to carry, like I shared a song with my community earlier this morning about carrying, it's put down what you are carrying, right? It's talking about in life, if we just carry every mistake, every hurt, every heartbreak, everything with us, and that backpack's going to be heavy as hell.
Yeah.
Right? So what would you say to somebody that just can't seem to show themselves some grace and to forgive themselves and to allow themselves to step into a point that they can start to surrender?
Well, I would say a couple of things. It's okay. It's okay if you can't show yourself some grace. It's okay if you're judging yourself right now. It's okay if you can't seem to forgive yourself. Like, it's okay. Let's embrace that. Let's embrace it. Let's accept that. Like, judging myself. See, the real issue is not the issue. The real issue is your relationship with the issue and how you relate with yourself through the issue.
Right.
Because we can say, oh, I need to be compassionate with myself. And I'm not being compassionate with myself, man. I'm not being compassionate with myself, Jerrod. So, damn it. I'm going to take a baseball bat. Be compassionate with yourself.
Yeah.
Now you're like doubly uncompassionate.
Right.
So the real issue is not the issue. The real issue is, can you be compassionate? Can you just meet yourself with some compassion for when you're not being compassionate? That's the deeper compassion. It's like, I'm aware. And I'm not being compassionate with myself in this moment. Okay. Let's just be with that. I'm not being compassionate. And it's okay.
Yeah.
And just to meet yourself with a moment of space, a moment of awareness.
Exactly.
That's a deeper compassion.
Yeah.
So the issue is not the issue, it's how you relate to yourself as you go through the issue. Like, I used to be very, very, very impatient. Like, I mean, crazily impatient. So I don't know if anyone can relate, but I was like, I would wait in line and I would, get upset at cute old ladies because they were just taking their sweet time. And like, to save 1 minute, I'd get frustrated. I'm like, what are you doing? This woman's 92 years old. How is it going to help? And so I get really upset with myself. The sense of like, hurry up, Kute, and be patient. Now, I was getting impatient with my impatience.
Sure.
Which was actually taking me further away. So on some level, understand it. It doesn't matter what you do, what you don't do. What matters more is how you relate to it. And so part of surrender is embracing whatever's arising and meeting it. Part of surrender is accepting whatever the experience is that you're going through. And that might mean you're not surrendered right now. That might mean you're not being compassionate right now. And it's okay, because that space is more important than the content. So that's one thing I would say.
Yeah.
Meeting yourself and relating yourself with compassion, whether you're compassionate or not. That's one thing. The other thing is, God's not going to forgive you. This might trigger a few people. God's not going to forgive you. What do you mean? Because God's not judging you. So if God, this infinite intelligence, isn't judging you, then why are we judging ourselves?
Sure.
Because the truth is, there's no such thing as perfection at the level of the personality.
No.
No matter how much we heal ourselves, work on ourselves, we're never going to be perfect human beings, and that's okay. We're not meant to be perfect. We're human, and we incarnate into this human experience in order to learn, to grow, and to evolve. And I think if we can embrace our humanity, accept our humanity, what's important is that we learn from the mistakes. See, underlying, and here's something that opens a space of compassion, underlying every behavior is a positive intention. So all of the shitty things that we've done, all of the things that we've done that we're judging, I guarantee you, if you go to the deepest level of like, what was the intention? There was a positive intention. Why did you lash out? Because you cared. Why did you do that thing? Because you wanted to protect yourself. Why did you sabotage? Because you wanted to protect your heart. Why did you, if you go to the deepest level, it's always a positive intention.
Yeah.
And if we can understand there's the behavior, separate the behavior and get to the deeper positive intention. Because all the things you judge about yourself is usually trying to get you something or protect you from something.
Yes.
And if you can understand what that deeper positive intention is, it becomes easier to bring yourself compassion despite the behavior. Because whatever you judge about yourself, you reinforce. But if you can start bringing a moment of compassion to it, that's where the healing happens. And healing is applying loving to those parts of yourself that are hurting.
I love it. I could sit here and talk to you all day, my friend. I thoroughly enjoy your conversation, your stories, and you're absolutely right. I love what you said there, that one of the keys is being aware. If I'm aware that I'm being impatient, well, that's much better than just yelling at myself to quit being impatient. Just like you said, I'm just going to make myself more impatient. But so I love what you're saying. I can be aware that I may not be my best right in this moment.
Yes.
But by
awareness.
By being aware of it, I can improve upon it.
Exactly.
Or I can just sit and not be my best for a minute, but at least I know it.
Yes. Exactly.
As we wrap up, Kute, it's hard to believe it's been almost an hour. Where can our audience connect further with you and join you in your movement? Because I love what you're doing. I love the message that you want to inspire people across the planet to access inner freedom, live authentically, and fulfill their life's true purpose.
Yeah, it's been a joy being on your show, my friend. Thank you so much. People can, a couple of things. Get the book, The Magic of Surrender book. It's a simple guide to living freedom and surrender and finding the courage to let go. It provides a real roadmap. So go to Amazon.
Okay.
I think it's on sale right now. Get the paperback version and check out the book there. That's the first thing. Second thing, if anyone feels really inspired by today's conversation and they feel like, I'm ready to transform my life. I'm serious about transforming my life. I'm ready to heal my conditioning. I'm ready to connect with my true power. And I'm ready to give my gifts to the world. And I feel like I've been put on the planet for a purpose that is bigger than myself. I want to invite you to something special. Twice a year, I do an event. It's a 12-day event to Bali. It is perhaps one of the most transformational experiences, I think, on the planet. I've done it for the last 10 years. Okay. This is my final year in 2023 doing this particular event. It's a 12-day experiential seminar training in Bali, Indonesia. It's called Boundless Bliss. And it's for those that are ready to truly surrender and take their lives to the next level. You can find out more at www.boundlessblissbali, B-A-L-I, boundlessblissbali.com. Find out the info there. My main website, my name, Kute Blackson, Kute Find out more info there. Instagram, Kute Blackson, Facebook, Kute Love Now, and my podcast, Soul Talk.
I love it. Keep up the fantastic work you're doing in the world, my friend, and we appreciate having you on today.
Thank you so much.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.